I don't understand why they've been basically not vocal defending the jobs in Brampton, in Ingersoll, in GM, saying basically that these U.S. tariffs on auto workers are unjustified and unjustifiable. And meanwhile, we will make sure, like we did in the 80s, when auto plants from American car companies were being closed, we embrace the Japanese automakers. We'll do that, and we will endorse those who build EVs.
This was not a debate. It was a political reckoning broadcast live across Canada. What unfolded in the House of Commons exposed years of selective outrage, strategic silence, and convenient hypocrisy, as Mélanie Joly did not simply defend government policy, but forced Conservatives to explain why their criticism always targets Ottawa and never Washington. The first Conservative intervention framed the issue as economic patriotism, claiming that Canada's electric vehicle subsidies were strengthening the United States at the expense of Canadian workers. On the surface, it sounded protective and urgent. But beneath that argument was a clear omission. Not once did they confront the broader source of instability in the auto sector. Not once did they directly challenge Donald Trump's tariff campaign. Instead, responsibility was redirected entirely inward. Joly immediately recognized the framing and refused to let it stand, turning the exchange into a question of consistency, accountability, and political courage, leaving Canadians to decide whether this was truly about protecting workers or protecting a narrative.
Last week, the Liberal government announced $2.3 billion in subsidies to buy electric vehicles. Electric vehicles manufactured in the United States will be eligible for this subsidy. It is inconceivable that the Liberal government would launch a multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded program that will directly benefit the American auto sector at a time that Trump's tariff war has cost Canada 5,000 jobs and counting in our auto sector. Will the Liberal government reverse course and stop American access to this $2.3 billion subsidy, yes or no?
Indeed, good news. Last week we announced our auto strategy based on two objectives. First, making sure we support auto production here in Canada and supporting those who invest in us. So basically, the companies that produce cars in Canada. And second, making sure that we embrace where the industry is, which is electrification and where it's going. So, Mr. Speaker, apart from the Conservative, everybody has been in favor of it. Premier Ford, the unions, the industry, even environmentalists and consumer groups, why don't they get?
Then the Conservatives escalated their rhetoric, shifting from criticism to accusation. They blamed the Liberal government for job losses, blamed Canadian policy for decisions made in the United States, and framed Ottawa as responsible for Washington's protectionist measures. The tone grew sharper, the language more pointed, but one pattern remained unchanged. They still refused to confront the United States directly. That absence was not accidental. Criticizing domestic policy is politically safe and familiar territory. Challenging a powerful foreign administration requires a different level of political risk. Mélanie Joly recognized that distinction immediately, and instead of reacting emotionally, she used it to carefully dismantle the foundation of their argument, exposing not just what was being said, but what was deliberately left unsaid.
In favor of this, Mr. Speaker, Donald Trump, because $2.3 billion is now accessible to his auto market when his tariff war is costing our economy thousands of jobs. It is, again, inconceivable that the Liberals would manufacture a program that gives billions of taxpayer dollars access to the American market. Why would we subsidize the American auto sector at a time like this? Will they reverse course, yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of time and respect for my colleague, but I must say I don't understand why any Conservatives are never going to say that they oppose the U.S. tariffs on the auto workers. I don't understand why they've been basically not vocal defending the jobs in Brampton, in Ingersoll, in GM, saying basically that these U.S. tariffs on auto workers are unjustified and unjustifiable. And meanwhile, we will make sure, like we did in the 80s, when auto plants from American car companies were being closed, we embrace the Japanese automakers. We'll do that, and we will endorse those who build EVs.
By the third round, the debate had clearly shifted. Conservatives were no longer focused on policy design. They were questioning the government's commitment to workers. They accused Ottawa of surrendering Canadian jobs and enabling American dominance. Yet once again, their outrage stopped at the border. Trump's economic aggression remained untouched. Joly did not respond defensively. She responded strategically. Instead of matching rhetoric with rhetoric, she reframed the entire exchange around action, results, and responsibility, forcing the conversation away from blame and back toward accountability.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The happiest person in North America when these Liberals announced their EV subsidy plan is Donald J. Trump. Yes. Let me explain. He has explicitly said he wants to take every single Canadian auto job and bring it down to the United States. And under these Liberals, he's succeeding. 5,000 auto workers have lost their job. The plant in Brampton that was supposed to build the Jeep Compass is now in the United States. So they are succeeding under these Liberals. Auto workers do not want their tax dollars going to subsidize American-made vehicles. Will the minister look them in the face today and say, no Canadian tax dollars will go to Trump's America to build vehicles?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister.
Speaker, you know what we do on this side of the aisle? We look at people in the eyes and we say, we'll defend your jobs. And that's exactly what this auto strategy is about. This auto strategy is about supporting auto production in Canada. And we are making sure that we're talking to Koreans, to Germans, to Chinese, to create good jobs in this country. And while we will just not let our industry just go bit by bit to the south, we will fight for these jobs. We have an auto strategy and they should get with the program.
The final exchange revealed the core weakness in the conservative position. After multiple rounds of criticism, they still could not clearly explain why they had avoided confronting American tariffs directly. They could not explain their silence when Canadian workers were affected by decisions made in Washington. By this point, Joly shifted from critique to evidence. She outlined the government's concrete response, including counter-tariffs, market safeguards, investment conditions, and targeted enforcement measures. The tone of the room changed as the focus moved from accusation to documented action. It became a reminder that defending workers demands more than speeches or slogans. It requires policy, implementation, and measurable response.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
I almost feel badly for this minister, pathetically trying to justify sending money to Donald Trump's America to subsidize the production of American EVs. This is the president who has declared economic war on Canada. He has said he wants every single Canadian auto job in the United States. And under these Liberals, he's succeeding. The Canadian auto economy is being decimated. Their plan, allow the American auto manufacturers access to Canadian dollars for EV subsidies. It's disgraceful. It's unconscionable. Will she apologize to Canadian auto workers for this terrible policy?
L'honorable ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
Not because my colleague is just increasing his rhetoric that actually he's right. What is right is that we have met the tariffs by the U.S. administration against our auto workers with counter tariffs. And every time the production has reduced in Canada, what did we do? We made sure that we limit the market access to Stellantis by 50%, to also GM by 24.2%. We will invest in those who invest in us, and we will make sure to create good jobs in this country.
Today's debate was not simply about electric vehicles or subsidies. It was about political honesty. It was about whether defending Canadian workers means confronting the real sources of economic pressure or using Washington's actions as tools for domestic political attacks. Mélanie Joly made one thing unmistakably clear. You cannot claim to stand with workers while staying silent on unjustified American tariffs. You cannot demand accountability at home while avoiding it abroad. And you cannot build credibility by selectively choosing your targets. Today, that contradiction was exposed not through slogans, but through substance. If you value serious, fact-based analysis of Canada's place in global politics. Subscribe to our channel. We examine power, strategy, and consequences, not talking points. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.